Um, in the 1934 novel, The Postman Always Rings Twice, 1946 movie, The Postman Always Rings Twice, the character of Frank Chambers is a drifter or a hobo. Now, an interesting thing about Frank Chambers is just a few decades later, he would have fit right in with the hippies. I mean, basically, that's what the hippies were. They were people who lived for the moment, didn't want to have regular jobs, didn't want to plan for the future. They kind of made a philosophy out of what had been a, kind of a drifter's way of life. Of course, later on, when things kind of settled down, I've heard that the majority of them got straight jobs, normal jobs, and lived regular lives. And although a minority of them joined religious cults, the hippies. But I assume that maybe some of them did stick to hippie philosophy and maybe just became hobos, like Frank Chambers did. And that was one of the odd things about The Postman Always Rings Twice, is that the female had the ambition and the male character was the live for the moment character. Now, it's really kind of supposed to be the other way around. As I pointed out, I've pointed this out before, people in general tend to be kind of admiring of a man who's got the fire in the belly and wants to make money and keep making money. And they tend to be kind of suspicious of women who have the same attitude. But they also tend to be more forgiving of women who screw up than of men who screw up. So I do believe that it's not right to think of society as a patriarchy. I think that's misleading. I believe that society is bisexist, consisting of both matriarchal and patriarchal elements. Yeah. And again, one of the things that makes The Postman Always Rings Twice interesting is that the three major characters, the two murderers and the victim, all represent different ways of being an American and different ways of living life. And Nick Papadakis is a kind of classic immigrant. Now, an interesting thing about him is that he's an immigrant from Greece. And he makes Cora, who was Cora Smith, feel, in Frank Chambers' words, he's the narrator, as well as the anti-hero, feel like she's not quite white. But of course, Greeks are whites, but they're just Southern whites, Southern Europeans. And that does point out the fact that there's been a lot of tensions in the history of America between Northern and Southern Europeans. So being married to a Greek makes her feel like she's not quite white, even though they are whites. But they're, Southern whites, Southern Europeans, not Northern Europeans. Now, and also a thing about it is that in the 1930s, when the book was written, there was a great deal of tension between Northern and Southern European white people. And throughout the novel, he is referred to in the Greek, which is as the Greek, which is a kind of dehumanizing way to continuously refer to somebody simply by their ethnicity. And in The Stranger, which Albert Camus kind of modeled on The Postman Always Rings Twice, the victim is referred to as the Arab. Nobody can ever, represent their ethnic group. Okay. And the thing about Nick Papadakis is, from the reader's point of view, he's actually a much more fleshed out character than